Okay, Michelle, we are live. So,
Okay, great.
so this is one interview you prepared a lot, isn't it?
I've prepared, yes, for this, as well as
Okay.
other interviews.
Very diplomatic answer. So, for all those who are joining us, so today we are going to discuss about 5 things that we can do as we are waiting to meet our life partner, the probable spouse. Because as we know, as Catholics, we realize that the waiting time that God gives us, whether it's from our marriage, for vocation, or for having a child after marriage, everything is a time of preparation and a formation and a time of consecration. So it's not a time to be simply spent, but with time to be spent with a lot of focus, and with a lot of effort. So we have a lot of friends who are going through this journey of waiting to find their right spouse. So we thought this video could be of help to all of them. And I have actually spoken to a lot of people, both non-Indians and Indians, and I have never found anyone as wise and as prudent as Michelle, because I've spoken regarding what other people are going through in their relationship, and she always comes up with good solid advice. And also one of the feedback that I got, Michelle, for all the videos that I did initially, I was engaging a lot of Americans and Europeans, and their accent is not really easy to understand for everybody in India, right? For some people, it is very difficult to follow. So they always give
Yeah,
me this feedback, right? Why don't you engage someone from India? Who also easy to understand, and at the same time can also bring in the Indian perspective to it. So which is why I'm very happy to do this interview with you. Even though we are going to take snippets, little bit videos from Ascension Presence, where Jackie
yeah, exactly.
Jackie Angel is giving her perspective, and then I will invite Michelle to share her perspective. So shall we go ahead? Is there anything you want to say to set the context for the interview?
No, I think we can get right into it.
Do you
And
want to
as
say the 5 points that we are going to discuss, Michelle? So the first point that we are going to discuss is, like, all of us have the ache in our heart to have that union with the other person. What do we do when we have the ache? It's quite natural, right? We can't like keep suppressing or avoiding it. So what's the healthy way to deal with it? And the second point is being healthy, holy, being healthy emotionally, physically, and spiritually during this time
yeah,
of waiting, to be that. And the third point is to live your life
to the
uh,
fullest.
to the fullest as you are single. And the fourth
Yes,
point is to be patient and trust God's timing. And the fifth point is to develop healthy friendships, which can eventually be helpful in your character formation. So
yes,
the first point, I will just play Jackie's video, and then I would like you to comment on that. Is that okay, Michelle?
hmm yes. All right, let's
Okay.
start.
And only in heaven is that ache going to be fully satisfied. So, when you feel that ache, that's an opportunity to turn to God in prayer and to just sit and let God love you. Someone once said, every time you feel that ache,
I'm unable to see the video,
that's God
Katie.
knocking on your
That's okay. You can't see the video. You can hear what she's
Okay.
saying, right?
No, I can't hear.
You can't hear what she's saying.
I can't hear. Yeah, I can't hear.
It's okay. I've already sent you the snippets, right? Because since we are doing this to Skype, you're not able to hear. So I'll tell you once the
Okay,
video is done, and then you can start your commentary on
fine.
it.
All right,
heart
all
saying,
right.
I want to spend time with you. And so look at Psalm 63. That's my favorite psalm about the ache. Oh God, you are my God. For you I long. For you my body yearns. For you my soul thirsts, like a land that is parched, lifeless, and without water. So personally, when I would feel that ache, I would turn to Psalm 63, sit in prayer with God, and be like, oh Lord, that ache is so strong today. Because it's going to be strong. It's always going to be there. But even when you get married, that ache is still not going to be fully satisfied, because the person that the love of your life is not God. They are imperfect. But it's possible to be joyful even in the midst of that ache. And only in heaven is.
Okay, Michelle, we are done. So the first point is, I just would like to clarify what she means about the ache. What she means is the longing that you have to be with another person, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So just a little lesson in theology before I get into the ache. So I think we
Kalake.
all. So for a change, I am the one giving the lesson instead of Devi. So so I think we are all well aware of the fact that, we are all made in the image and likeness of God, right? And the CCC, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, also tells us that God is actually a union of three persons, right? A union of three persons, the Trinity. And which means that there is like this eternal exchange of love, of communion, of relationship. And since we are made in God's image and likeness, that means I think very naturally we are also we are also called to be in communion with one another, in relationship.
Exactly.
And we will also have that longing for love. But the problem here is that we live, I think, in such a broken world where the idea of what love really is so distorted. And so there's this mismatch, there's us trying to look for what is true love. And then there's the broken world who's not able to give that to us, right? And I think because of that, there's this strong ache, as that Jackie talks about, that in our hearts that kind of builds up over time. And this ache is, something like something hollow, like a gap, which I like to call, and I've heard other people call it as well. It's called a God-shaped hole. Okay, a God-shaped hole, because it's that ache in your heart that only God can fill, right? But I think as humans, we try to fill it up with other things, because when we have that ache, there's this feeling of longing and loneliness that sets in. And because of that, we're constantly trying to fill it with all sorts of things, whether it's, it could be anything. It could be watching a lot of movies or going shopping or overworking. So the things that we try to,
No, I was just trying to create a differentiation here, Michelle. See, the ache happens because we look in the wrong places, but the desire for union to be with another person is natural, which is put by God. So we should not
the desire is natural, of course, but I think that when we have the desire, I think there's the natural tendency sometimes for us to look in the wrong places, as you said.
Okay.
So sometimes we'll try to fill this gap,
which causes the ache.
Which causes the ache, which causes the ache. So we try to fill it with all sorts of things. And obviously, as Jackie said, I watched the clip earlier. So she said we are made for heaven. So obviously things of this world are not going to, satisfy us.
Okay, so I got that. Okay, so now we are talking about the ache. The ache caused because we are trying to satisfy our longing for the union with the things of the world. And this world cannot give us, as you rightly said, because it's a broken world. Okay, now that is one thing. But what about my longing to be with another person, to get married to another person? That is legitimate, right? So till I get married, I should satisfy that ache with God. And even after marriage, that desire should be, as you say, it should be a Trinitarian relationship. It should not be, just with your spouse, but God in the picture, isn't it?
God in the picture, yeah. I think for some of us, we, especially singles, like us, you log into Facebook and you see, oh, this friend of mine is married, and this friend of mine already is pregnant, or oh, this one's on her fourth child. So, and then automatically when we look at all this, I think very naturally that longing and that ache tends to get a little deeper, like it pinches a bit, because we're constantly wondering, oh, when will it be? Yeah, when will it be mine? And when will God send someone in my life? But I think, and also at the same time, I think there's this constant fear also that some of us have, especially for women, right? Oh, I want to have lots of babies, but my biology clock is ticking.
Yeah.
Or, will I, what
ever
if I
find
already
one?
missed out? Even worse, what if I never find the one? So I think the key here, the solution here, as always, is to turn to God, because that ache, as you said, in your heart can only be filled by God alone. And so to turn to God in prayer, and this is not something I'm just saying, this is also talking from experience, right? Because even when I had to do this, even when I had to surrender and just turn to God, I think you tend to learn to appreciate the aloneness in a way,
Really?
the fact that you're single, and turn to appreciate this. Yeah, of course. Don't you appreciate your singleness? So we tend to appreciate, right, the season of our life, at least for what it is now, isn't it?
Yeah, we should, but as you say, it is difficult. I mean, just
It's
because you
difficult, of
surrender
course.
it to God, the ache doesn't just vanishes away. It keeps coming back, and it's a constant surrender, isn't it? It's not like one-time
It's a
thing.
constant. Yes, yes. It's not just one day you decide and it's all done. It's a constant
Exactly.
surrender because
Yeah.
you're constantly surrounded by,
People.
people who are, you're going to see families, you're going to see children. That ache is going to be there, of course, as a single person, but it's a constant surrender to God and knowing that He has the best for us.
Go a little back, Michelle.
Oh.
Okay, so another thing which for me, the ache is, I mean, I don't get really agitated when I see people getting married. I mean, our friends or acquaintances getting married on Facebook, or they having a child, because I understand this concept, right? That I'm part of God's theodrama, and the calling that they
Yes.
have is different from the calling I have, and I'm playing a
Right.
different role than what they are playing in the whole overall theodrama. So that doesn't
Exactly.
really trigger me, but the thing that triggers me is the time. The fact that as Catholics we have the formation, we have been so formed in the Catholic faith, and we know what are the right things to do in theory, and we want to implement it, we want to
Yes.
show faithfulness to God. So that is what irritates and pressurizes me, the fact that we are wanting to build a good Catholic family, wanting to be pro-life, wanting to obey the teachings of the church, and still we are not given that opportunity to do it, is what really triggers me. What other people
Yeah.
do doesn't really bother me too much.
Yeah, yeah. I think for singles, it's more like, oh, I want this. I want to have a family, and I want to raise little saints, and do all of that. But at the same time, I think we don't realize sometimes that we, at the same time, we actually have the freedom to prudentially, of course, do as we wish. We do have the freedom that married couples may not have, and whereas when you're married, marriage comes with its own responsibilities and joy, right?
Exactly.
Whereas when you're married, they may not have the kind of freedom that we as singles have. So I think either way, there's always a missing out on something in order to be able to live that what we are called to
Good
right
point.
now fruitfully.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it?
I mean, just
Yeah.
because I want to do all the things in marriage doesn't mean that I can't do the things right now in my singlehood. There are so many things
Yes.
which in which I can hold up to the Catholic teaching right now in my singlehood. I don't have to get
Exactly.
married to show my faithfulness to God, isn't it? That's the point you're
Yes,
trying to
yes.
drive.
Yes, yes. So either way, whether you're single or whether you're married,
Good.
we're called to be faithful where we are right now and appreciate that season of our life. Of course, once you're married, that's your season.
Yeah.
But our singlehood isn't going to last, hopefully. So enjoy the season of your life, and when the time comes, marriage will bring its own responsibilities and joys.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we go on to the next one?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 2, be healthy and holy now. I love the saying, if you are not happy as a single person, you are not going to be happy as a married person. Oh, shoot, dang. People think that, again, marriage is going to solve all their problems and that somebody's going to be their savior, their therapist. It's like, no, you don't need a boyfriend. You need a therapist. If you've got issues, if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, if you're dealing with some kind of addiction, there's no problem in seeing a therapist. There's no problem in getting help. Nobody, actually, in a relationship, it doesn't solve your problems. When you're in a relationship, it actually exposes all the issues. So if you've got emotional issues, if you've got physical, spiritual issues, get a spiritual director, go to therapy, get help, be as happy and holy as you can be now as a single person. And man, that will help you in your marriage. Your spouse will be so thankful, like, oh, thank God this person isn't crazy.
She's funny, actually. Okay, so the second point is where she talks about how we need to be physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. This is a time of preparation. This is not some, vacuumed time where we are not doing anything and everything we start doing after marriage. So I want to talk to you about all the three things, Michelle. If you have experiences, share that. And before Michelle talks about it, I think a lot of people have joined us on live. So if you guys have any question, not that we are experts, but we'll definitely share our perspectives to help you. So please put the questions in the comment section. Okay, so let's deal one by one, Michelle. Why is it important for us to be physically healthy right now before we get married?
Before that, I think just a little disclaimer, I think what some of us tend to think is that, when the time comes to get married, I will do this and I will do that.
Exactly.
And, I'll just start getting fit like 6 months before the wedding and, things like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, why not start now, right? I mean,
Why should I do it only for marriage? Because my physical health is important even otherwise, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think both of us at least, and most of us would know enough married couples to tell us that marriage doesn't make everything better. In fact, it exposes, isn't it,
Yeah.
those areas that we
It
need to
brings it
work
to
on.
surface, all the challenges and weaknesses, everything is brought
Yeah,
to surface and sanctified.
yes,
So we need to be ready
yes.
now.
So exactly. So physically, as you said, why not start now? Am I taking care of my body? Am I eating well? Am I exercising? Like for example, you go for basketball every day. Of course, now due to the lockdown, you cannot. But you're still taking care of yourself, of your well-being. Go for a walk. Why shouldn't you start now? So I think it's very important to take care of yourself physically. Of course, as singles before marriage, but I think even after marriage, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we may not be equipped to say that right now, but yeah, yeah. So
So,
physically, I think it's
yeah, physical, because, according to Catholic theology, we know that we are a body soul union. As much as we are giving importance to take care of our soul, is the same importance that we should give to take care of our body. And in one of the interviews, Jason Everett said, see, he said that I go for exercise. I hit the gym every day because if I am really concerned about my family and I want to be a good dad and a husband to my wife and children, then I need to be healthy. I need to have a
yes.
good body. So the fact that I'm being irresponsible and taking care of my body shows that I'm displaying a responsibility towards my family. So I think we need to develop that attitude of taking care of your body means that you're also taking care of the people who matter to you, because you need to be in good health, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
So
exactly,
start now. Don't wait for marriage as it is
exactly.
brings its challenges. So we don't have to have physical fitness as one of the challenges that we're taking into the marriage, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Start now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so yeah, for it is only after watching that particular interview, Michelle, that I started taking care of my body, and of course, slowly I got clarified with this body soul union, that body and soul, we are just not spiritual beings. We have a body. We are material
Right.
comes combined with spiritual beings. So yeah, body is
Right.
important, and we need to make sure that we take
Yes.
care of that. So I am actually now I'm even concerned about the food that I'm eating. And I go for cycling, or when the lockdown is not there, I go for basketball and I walk. I mean, you also walk a lot to
Yes.
your
Yes.
workplace
I
and
do walk a
stuff.
lot. Yeah.
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 So yeah. So which is why I think physically. And what do you think about being emotionally prepared?
Emotionally prepared, I think this is one area that most of us don't realize.
Hmm.
So we need work on. But I think the way we respond to certain situations, we're going to be in different situations, and we have the opportunity to respond in different ways. So am I responding maturely? Am
Yeah.
I, being finicky, or am I, you know what I
Immature.
mean, immature? And I think under this emotional category, I
Hmm.
would even like to say a bit about chastity, because when we think of chastity, the first thing that comes to mind is physical, but we don't realize there's also emotional chastity,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Hmm.
So am I maintaining those boundaries with my emotions? Am I guarding my heart,
Hmm.
in the season of waiting? So yeah, so I think emotional well-being is something that is also very crucial.
As
Hmm.
I look at in retrospect in my life, right, I would just imagine if I've got married 5 or 6 years back. I mean, I would have created headache for the girl and for myself, because I was so immature. And one of the reasons why immaturity creeps into our life is because we are selfish and self-centered and egoistic. I think that is what
Hmm.
leads a lot of us to behave in immaturely. At least for me, that was the reason, because I was so self-obsessed, self-centered, that I tend to only think about myself, and I'm not thinking about the what the other person is feeling, what the other person is going through, what
Yeah.
could be the way in which why that person is acting so sensitive to this particular issue, and I'm just thinking,
Mm.
oh, why is she acting? I know I am not done anything wrong. So I think today I am able to see the change in my character, where I have become a little more generous, and that has led me to be a little more mature.
Right, right. So
So
it's so all these years, you've been working on your emotional maturity. You're
de-
aware of the areas
yeah.
that you needed to work on, and you've acted on it. You're working on it and continuing to work.
And as
Right.
for in one of the videos, Father Rob Gallia says, right, when you ask God for when you pray to God that I need to be patient, I need to forgive, and I need to do this and that, God does not just give you the ability to forgive or the ability to be patient. He gives you people and situations where you're put to test, where your virtue is going to be, tested. And that is how, so for me, since I've gone through so much in the last 5 years, so many situations, I was really pushed to act virtuously. I was pushed to act in a Christian way. And because I, with a lot of spiritual direction and the grace that I received from the sacraments, I was eventually able to, do the right thing. And that has made my heart and mind generous and more broad-minded. I mean, today I'm able to see how differently I see things in contrast to how I would have looked in my past.
Yes.
And emotional maturity is so important, right, Michelle? Like, even as friends, when we speak and when we deal with different situations, which is nothing compared to marriage, we also feel the necessity to be mature in the way we deal with each other, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. This isn't just, of course, for for two people who are entering marriage. It's also for friendships. I think both of us can relate to that, right? So we often have conversations, and sometimes we're in disagreement, or sometimes one is hurt, and so there needs to be that communication also, isn't it? So I think with that comes the emotional maturity. It's not just about saying, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to him. I'm not going to talk to her." There's dealing with it, and with that comes the maturity to handle it well.
And one of the ways in which we can improve our emotional maturity is to openly communicate your feelings, ability to openly communicate your feelings and have that, healthy discussion with the other person, and see, seek the truth in the discussion, not to be, simply trying to defend yourself, so that, both of you can come to a middle point. So I think that has really led me to a lot of mature relationships. Before it was I would be in I would play the immature part. But today, since I've learned to express, communicate, and to seek the truth in everything that I do, I think that has really helped me to be a little more mature. So I think communication and expression is two important things if you're really looking to be, if you're looking to improve your emotional maturity, isn't it?
Emotional maturity. Yes, exactly. I can't agree more. Definitely.
And you have also come a long way, would you say, like, in retrospect, when you see your past and now after the formation, you would see that you're able to communicate and express yourself much better?
Yes. I think for me, I would have probably been the opposite of you a few years ago. So if someone would say something, I don't think I would, get all wild or aggressive. I would probably just, not say something or not communicate, or just, not, how do you say?
You become non-expressive and non-communicative.
Non-expressive, non-communicative. But I think it's only after formation, after living in community full time, that I learned
in ICP,
that communication is actually a good thing. In ICPE, yes, ICP. So that is where I learned actually how to communicate. That's where I became a little bolder in, how I express myself.
And how did it help your relationships, Michelle? The fact that you learned to express and communicate.
I think it really added, it really made me value my relationships even more, because when you express yourself, you also need the other person to communicate and express themselves. It goes both ways, right? And I think that is something I've been blessed with. Every time I've tried to communicate something to someone, they've responded very nicely, and we've been able to have this very healthy discussion. So in turn, the relationship doesn't really kind of just wither off. You actually build a stronger relationship with the person, isn't it?
When you have misunderstandings.
I think that has, yes, communication and being able to freely express. So I'm a very expressive person. Those who know me well would know. So if I have to talk to someone, I sometimes cry and talk, or or laugh and talk. So I'm so expressive, and I think that really helps even in the relationships that I try to build. So yeah.
Okay. And the third point here is, in terms of preparing yourself, is the spiritual health of yourself. Now we are talking about the soul. I know a lot of us think, once I get married, I'll say rosary with my partner. I will go for adoration with my partner. I will go for mass with my partner. But then, I mean, why can't you do all that now? Isn't your spiritual life important now, as you are a single? isn't it?
Yeah.
Because those are
Yes.
the graces that you receive in terms of you being responsible in terms of your spiritual duties like adoration, mass, Bible reading, living a good sacramental life. Are the doorways through which you're going to get healed of the lot of hurts which you have been carrying so many years. So if you're going to say I will go only and do it only when I get married, then you are actually taking the baggages into your marriage, and
Exactly.
and you have to already deal with the baggages the other person is bringing. So you might as well deal with the ones which you have before marriage, isn't it?
Yes, yes, exactly. Of course, spiritual, as we all know, is so important. So as I said earlier, what is my prayer life like? Am I turning to God? And then, as you mentioned, probably have a spiritual director, for guidance, for
Yep.
counseling.
Very
Make
important.
use. As Catholics, we have the sacraments. We have mass, adoration, reconciliation. So make use of those sacraments. Address the areas that need healing. I think in my life also personally, that is something I also had to work on over time. And I think my time with the mission or whichever ministry I was part of has really contributed to that as well for me. Healing over time. You have to address the areas because, as you said, we don't want to take all of that into our marriage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's quite important. And the thing is, if I because when the time does come, right? When the time does come and you meet the person, you want to be able to be at your best, isn't it? This doesn't mean like perfection or anything, but then of course at your best. And if I am expecting the best from someone, I also need to be able to
Exactly.
give my best, isn't it? So I think that we are all worthy of having good men and women in our lives, but there's also the responsibility to be worthy of the other. Yeah. Yeah.
So if
And I think another yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I think another point to add is, you're addressing the spiritual, emotional, physical. So I think it's not one or the other, right?
Yeah, it's
So
all.
I think it's all. So I think this is where the whole idea of being multidimensional, as you always talk about, comes in, isn't
Both
it?
and.
It's not like both and. So being multidimensional and not just saying, oh, I have, a
Great
great,
emotional
I'm so fit.
yeah.
Yeah, or emotional maturity, or I'm so fit and I'm all sorted out and I'm ready to go. It's being able to work in all these areas at the same time, because you're taking all of it into marriage. You're not just taking one area into marriage.
Yeah,
You're taking
exactly.
all of it, isn't it? Yeah.
That's well said.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of preparing yourself, it has to be physical, it has to be emotional, it has to be spiritual. You have to develop yourself and prepare yourself and work on yourself in all three areas. It's not this or that. It's and physical and spiritual and emotional. So okay.
Yes.
Okay, should we go ahead to the third point, Michelle?
Yes, I can't hear it, but just let me know when
It's
you're
done. Yeah.
And that would actually help me think like, I want to live life to its fullest today. I'm not going to sit and pine about my future and sit and just whine and whatever. I want to be happy today and live life to the fullest. So your life doesn't start once you get married. Your life doesn't start once you get a boyfriend or girlfriend. Your life is happening right now. So go travel, go on adventures, get to know Jesus, get to know yourself, have fun. I mean, I got to travel around the world when I was single. I still get to travel a lot as a married person, but I have kids now. And so I can't just like get up and buy a ticket to Italy or Hawaii, which I would love to do every day when my kids are crazy. But when I was single, if I saved up the money, I'd be like, hey, tickets right now are really cheap to Europe. Let's go. $500, let's do this. And I would go travel by myself. But now I can't do that. I have different responsibilities. So when I was single, I knew that I had a different type of freedom that I didn't have when I was married and with children. And so live your life now. Your life doesn't start.
Okay, I think we are done, Michelle.
Okay.
Hold on, it's so going crazy with this setup. Okay, so the third point is live your life right now is what she's saying. So the one important thing which really struck me was the fact that y'all. Hold on, Michelle.
Yes.
Okay, the one thing that really stood out for me was the fact that she says our life does not start after we have found our boyfriend or girlfriend or the person we are going to get married. We have our own life right now. and it's
Yes.
meant to be lived, isn't it? It's not
Yes.
just
Yes.
hmm,
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, oh, when I meet the one, then I will be complete and we'll do all these amazing things together.
yeah,
Why not start now? Why can't you do all these amazing things now? I think, waiting, since we're talking about waiting, right? This
yeah,
period of waiting doesn't mean just sitting around and doing nothing and just waiting for God to send someone, isn't it? It also means joyfully living out the season of life that we are in right now as we wait for God to, eventually show us who the person is. So I mean, as Jackie also says, if you want to travel, go travel. If you want to, go and try out food at different restaurants, go do that. If you want to go to mission trip, go do that. He's laughing because we do that a lot.
yeah,
So, so go do that. Why wait for to find someone and then do it? Of course, when you do find the one, there are a lot of things you can do together. But there's why not live your life as an adventure right now? And I think that is something I so relate with, because for me, I think looking back, I haven't let go of any opportunity I think that has come my way. I think it's always important to be open, flexible, available, but also prudentially seize opportunities. Of course, you can't just take everything. You also have to be prudent. So I
yeah.
think for me also, I've always been someone who, something comes my way, it's always so exciting. I want to try different things. I want to try new things, because I really don't know when the time does come to get married. Life will bring its own responsibilities. As I said, marriage brings its own joys. But now I would like to do the things that I may not be able to do later, and the things that make me happy right now, prudentially. So, I mean, at the same time, you don't want to just exist, right? We could just, sit and wait and say, oh, God will send me someone and life will become great and everything. But then you're just existing, but you don't want to exist, as Catholics who are here to live lives of joy, we are called to live, not just exist. So, isn't it?
We have a lot of
Do you agree,
interesting questions. No, I agree to you. Even as we were preparing for the interview, I was just thinking, you and I have not found the person, and we are not just living our life just like that. We are doing, got ourselves involved with the choir. We are doing stuff for Song on Fire. You're doing your work. So yeah, I feel this time that we are waiting for our prospective partner is not just a vacuumed time, a time of wasting. It's
Right.
It is a time of waiting. So as Catholics, we are always called to have an active sense of waiting, not a passive sense of waiting. So
Yes, exactly.
so as we
Go
spoke
on.
about in the second point, we have to keep preparing ourselves, and that does not mean that we can't enjoy our life and we cannot seek, go behind opportunities which would, really improve our career or improve our formation, whatever that might be. Live your life.
Right.
Like, you can't say, okay, I'm not going to, do that just because I am not yet found a right person, or when I find the right person, only I will do that. I mean, stuff like that. We tend to, get into a cocoon and say, how small children do. Unless you give me the chocolate, I will not eat dinner today. So
Like
that.
how JD also does that.
So yeah, that would be a little, I mean, first of all, it will be too narrow-minded, imprudent, foolish, and at the same time immature, right? To simply not act, live your life in the present, and say, I will act only right now, only if I know that in 5 months I'm going to find the right person. Then I will do. That would be
Yes.
immature, and we are also being irresponsible and being unfaithful to God if we do not live our life in the present, because God has a
Exactly.
purpose for our present too, right? Maybe God
Yeah, and he
wants
wants us to be happy. Yeah.
us to be happy, and he also has a purpose for us. Maybe he wants to accomplish something through us at this particular time.
Right.
Probably that is the reason why God is making us wait. And if we do not discern and see what is God is trying to tell us right now and what he's asking to do us right now, then I have a feeling that it get delayed because we are not seeking God's voice, and because God loves us and he wants us to be happy, as you rightly said. And this particular thing that he's asking us to do could be the channel through which God is going to form us and give us the circumstances and
Exactly.
the situation to kind of sizzle out the rough edges that we have. So
Right.
it's very important during the waiting time to do what God wants you to do. It could be the
Yes.
it could be the thing through which you get formed and eventually find the person. So
It could be. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it as an ultimate thing. I'm saying it could be one of the possibilities, because
Yeah, it's possible.
as I look back in retrospect and see, I somehow feel that I delayed, the start of Song on Fear because of, my pornography use, and I was just going berserk. Like, my life was so outlandish that, even I could not, I was living like a zombie, with no identity and everything. So sometimes, yeah, that waiting time is very important to discern and hear to God's voice. And as soon as I hit Song and Fire happened in my life, I could see the formation happening left, right, and center. I had to forgive people. I had to apologize people. I had to,
Yeah.
behave maturely. The formation was happening like this. So probably,
Yes.
the mission and the mission that God has for you could be the mission that God has had for you for your formation. So very important. Whatever. And doesn't mean you can't go for a movie, you can't go out for a
Exactly.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Do the fun stuff too.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree.
Both and spices the
Both
variety
and.
of life.
Only people who have watched the other video would understand
The
this joke.
anniversary video. Okay, should we go to the fourth point?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I remember writing in this journal I had for my future husband and saying, maybe I'm not ready yet, Lord, or maybe he's not ready yet, but I'm just going to keep praying. I'm going to keep praying for my vocation and keep praying for my future spouse. And I knew that God was still working on my spouse, and he was, and God's timing is the best, which leads me to point number 5, which is the hardest thing to do. These are the 2 hardest things that you will do as a single person, and that is to be patient and to trust God. Patience is the worst. I mean, it's the best, but it's also the worst. To be patient and to be like, I don't know when this is going to happen. Like, Lord, you are the savior of the universe. You can bring my spouse now. Okay, we don't know God's timing, but his timing is.
Yeah, Michelle, it's over.
Yeah.
So it
Okay.
talks about God's timing and and how this is a time to develop your trust and have faith in God. So what do you think about? First of all, tell me, what do you think about God's timing? Like, it's very easy to say, a lot of people can
It's
tell us,
very easy.
hey, you are not married because you've not met the person. You'll meet the right person at the right time.
In
Dang,
God's
I've
time.
been
In
waiting for.
God's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Go back, Michelle.
Okay. I think once, these. It does happen in our life, then it's easy to say, oh yes, all in God's time. It happened in God's time. But when it hasn't happened yet, to have that trust and faith in God's time, I think is, as Jackie has also said, it is very difficult actually. It's not easy, easier said than done. But I think this is something that some of us have come to learn and experience over time with different experiences, isn't it? So each time there's a stronger trust in a way, a stronger conviction, and I think our human minds try to, comprehend when is it going to happen, and we try to get all calculative. And if this happened, then when will this happen?
Exactly.
And, but I think, God is beyond all of that, isn't it? God is beyond the way we think. As I said, our limited human minds, and is beyond space and time, and He knows exactly what's happening at the right time, what He's going to do at the right time. So until then, everyone, please be patient. And in the process of being patient, we also have to be prudent as we're being patient, isn't it? Work on ourselves and all the areas that we discussed earlier. Live your life to the fullest. Turn to a life of prayer. Fill that gap with all that is of God. And, that is how, I guess, living out that patience will be much more easier. And when the time is right, God will show. I think it's Psalm 37:5, which says, "Commit your ways to the Lord, and in time He will bring it to pass." So that is something, I guess, to hold on to during this time of waiting and being patient.
So
Yes.
one example my elders used to tell me, right? My spiritual elders. So they used to tell me, like, there were two guys were standing in a bus stand, and so when the first bus came, it was very, very crowded. So both these guys were going to the same destination. So when the first bus came, it was very crowded. So this guy, what he did, he somehow got into the bus and he wanted to reach the destination before this guy. Okay, so the bus, he got into the bus and the bus left. And after 15 to 20 minutes, the next bus came to the bus stand, to the same destination. And this guy thought, okay, this guy is going to anyway reach the destination before me. What's the point? And this bus was even empty. It was very comfortable. He sat and he was going. And eventually, as he saw in the road, this bus, the bus which the first guy got in, was so full of crowd, it could not, go beyond a certain speed. And this bus was so empty that it overtook that bus. So sometimes you would think that you've missed the bus in your life. And all the things are going to get delayed because of that. But you'll never know. Your bus will eventually race the first bus. So it's a very consoling story. But then,
Yeah, I think I'm also reminded of a friend of mine. She's quite fun-loving, and I remember this one incident. So let's say friend A and friend B. Okay, so friend A has a daughter, a little girl. She gave birth to a baby, and so she tells friend B, and friend B is single. Okay, and she's very happy. She's very content with her life. Both my friends. So friend A tells friend B, oh, by the time by the time you get married, my daughter can be your bridesmaid. And my friend B goes, just relax. By the time I get married, your daughter will be she said, my daughter will be a flower girl. And she said, by the time I get married, your daughter will be my bridesmaid. I'll take my own sweet time. So she's so content. And I just thought of her randomly just now. And she's so full of joy, being single, living her life, and at the same time waiting in hope and surrendering it to God. So,
okay, that actually transition us smoothly to the fifth point. So we have spoken about what all we need to do in this time of waiting, but there is also something else we need to do, which is, develop very, very good friendships, which could be the eventual support system that we would need after we get married, isn't it? And as I told you, it is through the friends that God, through friends, family, relatives, is through which God sizzles out that rough edges, our character, the weakness in our character formation. So making good friends.
Yes, exactly. I think this is a very crucial part, having good friendships and relationships. And I think most of us would have come across all different sorts of people and had all different sorts of, friendships in the past. But really holding on to those friendships that are there to prune you, a good...
Yes, prune is the word,
Yeah, to prune each other, as you said, sharpen the rough edges, which I think we also often do for each other.
I was about to tell that because, see, I would have never understood that when I'm speaking to a girl, the tone really matters. Because, you have only constantly told me, JD, you tell me, but you tell it in a good way. Because I tend to, become very, assertive and I like my tone. Tone becomes very aggressive. So,
So, and even for me, I think with my, emotional maturity, sometimes JD will tell me, Vishal, you're over emotional. I'm like, I'm not over emotional. The irony of it, right? So I think in that way, these are just two areas, but there are so many ways as friends that, we can all really sharpen each other's rough edges, prune each other. And, again, friends don't just pop out of nowhere. We have to go out. We have to put ourselves out there, go for Bible camp, join a youth group, join the church choir, as I did. There's so many ways. So put yourself out there. But also, I think what's important, because we're talking about this time of waiting, it's also important to be able to set boundaries as friends, respect one another, value one another.
What are the boundaries that we should set?
Like earlier we spoke about emotional maturity as well, right? So I think even as friends, sometimes we have to be careful not to cross even emotional boundaries. Of course, physical boundaries we don't cross, but emotional boundaries is something we don't know when it can
happen very unintentionally.
It can happen so smoothly, unintentionally. So that is something we have to really be very careful about. Guard your heart, because in the process of developing these friendships, and you're waiting. So sometimes the tendency is, is he the one? Is she the one? I don't know. Maybe that can happen very naturally, isn't it? So, so to also kind of, as we said earlier, all the other points come into play here. We have to be sensitive to God's voice. We have to be working on the different areas of our life, and allowing God to work in His time, in His way, instead of trying to take everything into our hands and rush. Because when we rush, poor choices, lack of prudence, all that comes into play. And, I'm not here to say, I'll speak for myself and not JD. I'm not here to say, oh, I have it all figured out and I followed all these points that I've just told you. It's not like that. I am also
I have
working on so
followed.
many. Yeah, sure. JD is perfect, guys. It's absolutely perfect. Okay, JD. So, I'm not here to say that I've done it all right, but of course the falling and failing happens as a result of, poor choices or lack of prudence. But what I'd like to encourage people to do is do not be afraid to restart. Okay, we've made a few mistakes, we've fallen. There are areas that we've not even started working on. So don't be afraid to start or restart. And, live
point.
out. I can't hear you, JD.
No, I'm saying a good point.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to restart and, live out this, this season of your life and what God has called us to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I've seen with my own interactions with my friends and how God has, really helped me to, because friends have different our friends have different emotions. You might react to a particular thing in a different way. The same thing, I might have another friend who's reacting in a different way. So, you tend to, constantly adapt yourself and make yourself a little more sensitive to the other person and,
Right.
gain and gauge. Sometimes, if it is during those fights that you actually understand your mistake, like when we have these back and forth. So I
Yeah.
would definitely, give full credit to my friends in terms of my formation. Without them, I think I would still be the lousy and horrible person I was once. And also, Michelle, so
Yeah.
this one thing, right? So I think this boundary is also very important. Unless you are pretty sure that if you like a friend of yours, platonic as you say, and you want to, kind of somehow show your interest, don't cross that friend zone and go into that boyfriend girlfriend zone until you're very sure that you can you can love this person and that person will love you. And before making that transition, really discern, take your time. You don't have to rush that process, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because if we rush, thinking, oh, my age, oh, I'm already, these many years old, or all my friends are getting married, so it's my turn now. So if we are rushing for the wrong reasons, it's going to eventually fall apart, isn't it? Because it's going to
Age,
be, yeah,
age,
go ahead.
financial security,
Security.
all
Yeah,
that is not a reason to get married. You get married because you love
exactly.
the person and you want to start a
Exactly.
family with that person. All that are
Yes.
important, but that should not be the reason why you get married to a person.
Yes, exactly. So,
So don't settle.
so so don't settle. Yes, exactly. Don't settle. I think in in the other part of the video, even Jackie Angel says, God is not going to show
Show
you
you
gold
gold and give you silver.
and give you silver, because we see all these amazing, like as a woman, right? I can see all these amazing Catholic men out there. I mean, they're either married or a
Like me.
priest, like
Amazing Catholic men.
not like JD. Jackie says rightly in the video, God is not going to show you all of this
And
and
then
say,
say,
oh,
oh, it's not for you, it's not for you. You
not
will
for
get
you.
only
Yeah.
silver. Yeah.
Yeah, you only get this much. I'm showing you this, but you only get this much. God is not going to do that, right? So if He's showing you the best, isn't it? He's also giving you the best.
Yeah.
It all matters. Yeah, what matters is how we are also ready to respond and work on ourselves. As I said earlier, if we are going to expect the best from someone, we have to be able to also give
Be
our
that.
best, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be that as well, the responsibility to be that. So, so coming back to the friend circle, we build good friendships. And as you said, you would give a lot of credit to your friends. I think even for me, I would give a lot of credit to the people in my life as well. I think it's very important to have, coming back to the communication point as well, it's very important to have that open communication between friends, or whether it's your mentor. And there's always someone saying, oh, Michelle, this was not prudent. This is what you should do next time. Or I will think of something and say, oh, should I have done this? Or should I? And they're like, no, you shouldn't have done this. Do this. Or they would guide me towards it. Of course, no one really tells you what to do and not to do. That's your choice. But yeah, I would give a lot of credit to my friends. And, who are constantly there to affirm, to encourage, but also give me all the tough love that I need, isn't it?
Including your friends right now, isn't it?
Including my friends right now living in Chennai. Yes.
2 hours non-stop.
Too much of tough love. So I would say maintain good friendships, and at the same time keep your heart open, because you really never know what God is going to show you in this process of waiting, or who He's going to show you in this process of waiting. So
actually,
yeah.
the point that you made, right? You said, be open. Let your heart be open. So here, that's where the Catholic both and comes. Both guard your heart and be open. It's not this or that. So that is
exactly.
it's a great finish to our conversation.
You be open to God, to what God wants to show you, so you can see, but also guard your heart
until you're sure.
Until you're sure and convicted that, yes, this is what God is showing me. Yeah.
Cool. So I like to read the first comment.
Okay.
It says, it's from Merlin Matthew. Hey, JD and Michelle. How do you find joy and happiness when you are exposed to an unhappy surrounding for a long while, especially in a situation where we are all locked up and have nowhere to go? I think she's talking about her family and probably tough time with her family. What would you say, Michelle?
For someone who's not finding joy, with the people around her, and you're locked up, so you can't really go anywhere and do anything. I would say you could probably turn to, like, for example, for me, I enjoy writing. I enjoy my own craft, indulging myself in a hobby, cooking. Yes, so doing things that I actually enjoy. And of course, we may not be able to control the entire circumstance around us, but we can control how we respond to it, isn't it? So, yeah.
And also, Merlin, what I would like to say is, it's, just because the situation is difficult doesn't mean you run away from the situation. You have to do what you can. Probably God has put you there so that you can act and make the situation better. So we have to know a little more detail on to give an effective answer to what you're asking. But I would say don't run away. I mean, as Michelle said, you can engage yourself in other ways, but it doesn't mean that you completely ignore what's happening around you. If it is happening in your family, then you have a responsibility to act. You can't simply ignore and just run away. Because why I'm telling you is, I was like that for a long time, because I also come from an unhappy family surrounding. So my natural instinct was to get married, get out of India, and forget my parents, forget everything about my family. But God brought me back to my family, and this is where God is growing Song on Fire, right in the what do you say, under the roof of my parents and my sister. So so we need to know a little more of what you're saying, but anyway, we'll be praying for you. So that's Marlon. And our own friend Jubia asks, do you guys have any specific prayers that you say for your future spouse, or for you to be prepared for that day when you meet him or her? Do you do anything?
There's one,
St. Joseph prayer.
That St. Joseph, of course. I've developed a very intense this love for St. Joseph over the past few weeks or months, I would say. But one of my mentors actually encouraged me to do this, which I've been doing for quite some time now, because of course, we pray the daily rosary, or as much as we can. So she said, every time you pray, dedicate 1 decade for your future spouse. Of course, you also have to prepare yourself and ask God to prepare you, but dedicate 1 decade, because they say Mother Mary and St. Joseph are like the ultimate matchmakers, isn't it?
Yeah. So
there's another.
So you're putting your cards in both places.
Yes,
Mother Mary and St. Joseph.
Mother Mary and St. Joseph. So there's no
both
missing out. I can't go wrong. Like both and. And also, Saint Anne, who's Mother Mary's mother, there's this joke, because Saint Anne also is known to be a saint for, when you're looking for a future spouse. So there's this saying that goes, Saint Anne, please find me a man as fast as you can. Of course, I'm not saying you have to make that a prayer, but just something funny that I heard.
Saint Anne?
Please find me
me
a
a
man
man.
as fast as you can.
Okay, I also used to do this rosary thing 1 decade for my spouse, and I got so bored of it, waiting, and I transferred the
I
decade for
haven't
myself.
reached a point of boredom. So what do you do, JD?
For me, I think the prayer which I find most comfortable is, of course, adoration. Whatever is that my heart is seeking and desiring, I put forward before the Blessed Sacrament, because that has been the go-to form of worship that has been always for me. Because a lot of people say, okay, do this novena, do that novena, do this
Yeah.
prayer, that prayer. But then I also feel that you have to find the comfort zone with God. You don't have to do something just because another person is doing, unless
Correct.
it is an obligation by the church, like the sacraments. So, as Saint Jose Maria Escriva, the founder of Opus Dei, says, there is so much of treasure in the church. Choose the treasure that you want to. So I have chosen Blessed Sacrament. Of course, I tried doing it with Rosary and Novenas too, but for me, it is the Blessed Sacrament for me. Okay, the next question. Okay, the name says Yel. I don't know what that means. Though we are waiting and praying for our future, should we also make an effort to try meeting someone? If yes, what are the ways we can do it? Do that.
Should we make an effort in?
Should we make an effort to try meeting someone? If yes, what are the ways we can do that?
I think, as we mentioned earlier, right, it's we can't just sit in a room in four walls and say, God, please send me someone. He's not going to just drop someone down, isn't it? You have to put yourself out there, go out, meet people, join church youth group or the choir or Bible study group. So put yourself out there, but not with the intention of, let me
go
see
find.
now. Let me go find someone. Because what's going to happen is, after that, if you're a woman, then every guy you look at, you're going to be looking at him through that lens, isn't it? You're going to be just ticking off like check boxes every time. So you go out there with the intention to develop good friendships, and once you're there, as we said, keep your heart open. Also guard your heart, both and God will show you. You put yourself out there, you have acted, and God will give you the grace and show you.
You and I are talking as if we have found and we have got married and we are celebrating the 10-year anniversary. You will surely find it. Just do the Funny.
But don't you agree, JD? What do you have to add?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is also good. I mean, we should act, and at the same time, not act to the extreme of just putting you out there everywhere, putting your thing. I think it's had to be a balance, because ultimately, God knows how He's going to lead you to that particular person. So of course, as you say, you have the intention of joining youth groups and prayer groups and all that should be with the intention to evangelize, and this could be a avenue where God is going to show you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Again, just to clarify, this doesn't mean, as you said, we go out and put ourselves everywhere. It's also about, as I said earlier, very prudentially, going ahead and joining these groups or making decisions. You have to be prudent also.
Being part of prayer groups, youth groups, or bigger movements to evangelize and minister, you should do either ways, because all baptized Catholics are called to be missionaries, so that you have to do. Yes. So I think what you are trying to imply is that those places could be where God is showing you the right person. So be open is what you're trying to say.
Be open. Yes. Thanks for clarifying my point.
So I think this was an awesome discussion. I never thought, both of us would have never thought it would have come. We both are so spontaneous, so natural, and it comes naturally for us, isn't it? Because I also think it's because we have the same wavelength and we think alike.
Yes. So we're able to have that, the wavelength, as you said, we're able to communicate and, complete the other's words or something like that. So it's quite comfortable doing it together also, isn't it?
Yep. So awesome, Michelle. I think I really enjoyed this discussion.
Me too.
Do you have any final words of wisdom?
Final words of wisdom.
You have 1 minute. It's going to be exactly 1 hour. So you have 1 minute to give your gyan.
Okay, so just to summarize, the 5 points that we discussed. One is turn to God. Don't try turning to other things. Know that ache in your heart can only be filled by God alone. Yes. Next is, work on all areas of your life, the physical, the emotional, your spiritual as well. Live your life to the fullest. Seize opportunities prudentially. Go out, have fun, meet people. There's nothing wrong, do all that and live your life. And then what was the fourth point? Yeah, be patient. Oh, the most difficult. Be patient.
And trust
Be
God's
patient,
timing.
be hopeful, trust God's timing. And also at the same time, through all of this, develop good relationships, good friendships who will lead you to God and sharpen your edges and, prune you to be a better person than you were yesterday. So that is what I would like to say and encourage everyone. Thank you everyone for listening and being here with us.
God bless you. So, see you in
God
another
bless.
conversation. Bye.
Bye.